Good morning, everyone, and thank you all for joining us. This is the Small Business Solutions series put on by our Small Business Entrepreneurial Council. Thank you very much for taking time to join us today. We have a phenomenal speaker and presenter with us here today, Elizabeth Case, who is the owner of Yellow Dog Consulting, a small business marketing firm. And I can tell you, just as a testament, she has been working her magic with the chamber during this before, but really concentrated effort with the chamber during this pandemic and helping us in terms of communication to our members. So if you've liked what you've seen coming from the Hillsboro Chamber between Elizabeth and Jen Little, our brand manager, they're the responsible parties for having good information, clear, concise information. And it's just a pleasure to have you with us here today. And I think this is a really important topic. How do you maintain loyalty with your customers when your doors are closed? How do you stay connected? How do you make sure that when your doors are open, they're standing in a long line to greet you again? So Elizabeth, with that, I'm going to turn it over to you. I'm going to go on mute. Okay. And I think, do you want to take questions as they go? Do you want to do questions at the end? How do you want to do it?
Yeah, so I kind of have three main things we're going to talk about today, and we'll kind of, I'll talk about it for a couple of minutes, and then I'll have you guys, we'll ask questions while we're talking about that specific topic. Sure. So you don't have to hold it till the end, but maybe hold it for a couple of minutes. Excellent. Easiest way to handle that. And as everybody was logging in, I did ask if you would just introduce yourself in the chat with your name and your business. And that way, as best I can on the fly, I will try and make examples relevant to your industries as opposed to making stuff up about a bunch of industries that aren't here today. So as Deanna said, I'm Elizabeth Case and I run Yellow Dog Consulting. I have had the company, it'll be 9 years on May 1st. I am a chamber board member and on the Small Business Entrepreneur Council with a few other folks here on the chat today. And I have lived in Hillsboro for 5 years. And my niche is really working with small business owners. Solopreneurs are my favorite, kind of that 0 to 10 employees. And I always say they love what they do, but the sales and marketing part of their job sucks their will to live. So it's really about getting those systems and schedules in place. Because as a small business owner, you have to do your marketing, whether you like it or not. And so it's about figuring out, like, what are those systems and schedules that are going to actually work for you? So today what I want to talk about are three of my favorite things to talk about when it comes to small business marketing. We're going to talk about email newsletters. They are my favorite thing and what I spend the majority of my time working on. Email newsletters, social media, and we're going to talk about checking in. Often I talk about follow-up, but this is a little pivot on follow-up for where we are right now. It's more about checking in with your connections. And so these are all three things that you guys can be doing right now in your business. Sound good? Everybody's in the right place? We're going to be okay? All right. I like that you guys didn't all like hide your screen so I can see you nodding and not just the names there all over the place. So awesome. Like I said, I'm going to kind of talk about something for a couple of minutes and then I'll open it up to questions. So, but really I want this to be interactive and dialogue. So feel free to mute yourselves and then in a minute, I'll give you guys some time. We can jump in there. So excellent. So the first thing, is I have seen over the last month since everything started, I have seen some really great examples. And so I'm not going to be making stuff up and reinventing the wheel today. It's really about, this is a great time to look at what other people in your industry are doing that is working that you can copy and replicate in your own business. What's the right fit for you? Does this feel authentic for you? And that's going to be a big piece of it too, is does this feel right? You have to trust your gut when you have your own business, right? You have to feel like, right, this is what's the right fit for me, or no, this isn't. So I'm going to share a lot of ideas today, and I know it can be overwhelming. There's so much going on, but I want you to see if there's one, maybe two things that you go, that's something I can actually do today. So as I said, the first thing we're going to talk about are email newsletters. I love email newsletters, and I always have. And I love them because they work. It is your way to get your name in someone's inbox. And what I usually say to clients is that having a regular newsletter is about getting your name in their inbox when you're not selling them something, but just telling them how awesome you are so that when the time is right, that they're ready to buy, that they know exactly where to go to because you're talking to them regularly. This is a little different. What we want to know right now is how you're doing. This is the time for them to buy from you, for you to say, this is how you can help keep me afloat. This is how we can work. So once you have figured out how you're pivoting in your business, this is what you need to do, is let your network know what's going on. So for some of you, this may start with that jar of business cards on the counter that you have been collecting business cards in, putting those into a spreadsheet. That might be the first step that you need to get to. Maybe you just have a list that you haven't talked to in a while, and it's time to get back to it and just re-engage with them. We're in a really forgiving time right now too, where everybody is on their phone, on their computer all the time, checking their email. I keep talking to clients about the newsletters, saying, we usually kind of look at what's a good time to send your newsletter, what day of the week works better with your target, with your audience. Everything's out the window now. It's just hit send because people are on their phones 24/7. Somebody's up at 2 in the morning because they can't sleep, or that's what's working for them. And so, the send time isn't as important as making sure you're getting content out there and getting your name into their inbox. So, and the frequency can vary depending on what you're doing. So for some people, I would say, once a month is probably fine. But if you have changes happening regularly, like the chamber, we're sending stuff every day because we want to make sure you have the latest information available. You probably don't need to be that regular with your audience, but if your schedule is changing and things are adapting on a weekly basis, then weekly is great. Let us know what's going on with you. And so really what you want to do with your newsletter is let people know what's up. How can we work with you now? How can I support you now? How can I continue to engage with you now? So how are you doing? How is your staff doing? What changes have you made? What are your hours these days? And then how can clients work with you now? So things have changed, right? Like I saw Crystal's on here, and Crystal at Pumpernickel is doing a delivery. She delivered dog treats to my house a couple of weeks ago, and it was amazing. And she's going to be delivering cupcakes in a couple of weeks because my puppy turns 1 at the end of the month. So, and we are those crazy dog parents. So it's okay. We didn't reproduce. We just stuck with the dogs. And we are grateful for Crystal for that. What are you doing? How have you pivoted the business, right? So is it delivery? Is it online Zoom meetings? Is it telehealth? And it's interesting to see what industries can pivot. I've seen some chiropractors who have just closed. I've seen other chiropractors who are doing telehealth visits, which I think is kind of interesting. Is there private or personal shopping? What kinds of things are you doing? There are some industries that this isn't going to work right now, right? Like you're not going to be if you're selling gift certificates for in the future, you can let people know that. The other thing you can do is start a list for when things reopen. So it may be that you're a massage therapist that cash flow wise, maybe it just works better to wait until you open again. And so saying, if you want to be at the first of my list when I'm working again, when we're open again, shoot me an email and I will make sure you get advanced notice. You'll get 24-hour exclusive access to get your appointment scheduled before it goes out to the rest of the public. So find those ways that you can be engaging with people now, letting them know what's going on, letting them know how they can work with you, but just make sure they know what's happening there. The other thing that I recommend right now is finding ways that people can support you for free, because not everybody has the cash flow right now, as I think some of us are noticing, to actually, buy the gift certificate, order the things from you, spend money with you right now. But how else can they engage with you? And this is a really great time to be asking for reviews, because it doesn't take anything, right? It's 5 minutes. So maybe in your next newsletter, you ask for reviews. Would you mind writing a quick review for me on, here's my Google link, here's my Facebook link, here's my Yelp link. I would love a 5-star review if you feel comfortable doing that, or writing a testimonial that I could use on my website. You can also ask people to share on social media. So what is it, hey, if you see my post on Facebook, would you mind, please share and support, you can share and support for free in that regard. And so those are just a few things that have jumped out at me as I've been watching other businesses online. It's been fun to watch businesses pivot. I follow iSpark. I live here in Orenco Station, so I'm pointing up to Orenco, which I know you can all see. So Orenco is that way, Noblewoods is that way. If I start pointing, sorry. you know, I love that iSpark sends out kind of a weekly theme email of here's some cool kits, and they do curbside pickup, and they're letting you know that. I watched wineries pivot from, you know, I work with a winery who was supposed to have their wine club release a couple of weeks ago, and we changed that. And so now it's curbside pickup. You can come out to the vineyard. They're doing local deliveries. If you go out to the vineyard, you can take your dogs with and let them socially distance run in the vineyard, which we did Friday afternoon, which was great. And so it's finding those ways where people can still connect and engage with you and just know how you're working. I feel like I've been talking for a while now, and I maybe have overwhelmed some of you. So why don't we open this up for some questions to see what I've missed here so far, and what questions you have specifically when it comes to email marketing. And you can throw those questions in the chat, or you can just unmute yourself and ask. Or.
So I was wondering how personal you want to get in your email to customers. Like, I just had a grandkid, and so that put me, I mean, I took some time to take care of my grandkids. Now I'm back. Would that be something that people would be interested in? Yes,
I think so. That's the fun thing about being a small business owner, is that you can be as personal as you would like to be and as you're comfortable with. And so I think absolutely. I took some time off because I had a grandkid, and I was in, they're super cute. You can share a picture. People love babies, and dogs are always good things, right? Like I always say in my newsletter, it's 3 things and a picture of my dogs. So guaranteed, if nothing else, you're gonna get a picture of a puppy. So yes, I would say, as you know, as personal as you're comfortable with being, that's always a great thing to do. Does that help?
Okay.
Good. What other questions? Yeah.
I was thinking also, as an interpreter, it's hard to be to keep social distance with people when you're interpreting.
Yeah.
So I bought masks. I'm thinking of telling people. I was thinking ahead, and I'm preparing.
Yeah, absolutely. Tell people what you're doing, right? So what is your cleanliness routine? How are you working, and how have you pivoted your business in response to what's going on right now?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would say all those things. Other questions? Okay.
I have one, because I know asking for reviews was something that we thought of like right away, and then Google said, nope, no one can leave a review. And I think that that's opening up again, but there was a period where you couldn't actually leave your review. It would tell you to come back later. My understanding is that was because some business, it was an effort to prevent some businesses from getting negative reviews due to their response to COVID.
Oh, okay.
And so, so I'm just checking to see, like, is this a good time for everyone to leave a review, or?
And that's a good question. Yeah, and really all of these things it depends for your business. And so usually I would say, yeah, this is probably a good time to ask for reviews. And I think you message it in a way that's not, please leave me a review now, but hey, one way you can support the business right now is by leaving a review if that's something you're comfortable with. Trusting that you have a pretty well cultivated audience that you're talking to. And maybe it's not something you put in the newsletter. Maybe it's something that you reach out to a handful of clients and say, hey, would you mind writing a review for me right now? And you can do that and check. And I haven't had an issue with Google yet, but every day is different with all of them. So, but yeah, keep an eye on that. And as you see that it's available, you can make those changes. Does that help? What other questions? I see over here. How often do you recommend email so clients don't unsubscribe? That is an awesome question, Olga. You know, typically in a non-COVID world, I say monthly is a great amount to be sending it out, right? Like I don't have time to read something from you every week unless it's short and sweet, and every newsletter is different. Right now, everything is different. And so if you have things changing, if you have a special of the week, then maybe there's something specific that you want to talk about on a weekly basis. What are things that people can implement at home in your services? And know that people are going to unsubscribe, and that's not a personal attack on you. We are also all getting a lot of email right now. And so people have the time to look at that email and go, I don't remember how I got on this list. I am just trying to clean up my inbox these days. I don't need all this information coming at me. It's not that they hate you. They're not out to get you. It's just not the right time. And that's okay, because what you want is a really good list of people who love you and support you and want to hear from you regularly. I hope that helps. Any other questions on newsletters? I know I could talk about this for like eons, and that's a whole other webinar for down the line. But Crystal was mentioning adding resources for customers like food banks, shelters, dog rescues. Oh, does the chamber have a list I can use? Oh, let's look at that offline, Crystal, and get that figured out, because I bet they do have some stuff. But adding resources is also a great idea. I work with a mechanic shop down in Eureka, California, and they are ordering in. They're an essential service. And so we're sending out newsletters about weekly, checking in with people, and they are offering to do curbside pickup and delivery of your car. So they'll come to the house, car, take it to the shop, and then they will sanitize it when they bring it back to you. One of the other things that they are doing is they're ordering in lunch from restaurants in there. So we're letting people know, like, we got lunch this week from this place, we got lunch this week from this place, to let other people know in the community what businesses are open and supporting those businesses as well. Yeah, 2/3 general info to 1/3 about you is a good balance. Agreed. And really what I typically say in about a newsletter is you want to let people know how awesome you are, right? So that when the time is right. So it's giving away that information. What would be helpful right now? What is your target audience? What do your clients need to hear from you? What's going to help them right now? I was saying earlier, I mentioned a chiropractor doing telehealth. The same chiropractor, they're really suave on social media. And so they're doing little Instagram videos of stretches you can do at your desk, because we're all working from home, and how to set up a proper at-home desk, setup. And that's been really fun to watch and make sure that I'm doing it right. I've worked from home for 9 years, so I think I have a decent setup, but it was good to be like, oh, I might want to adjust this a little bit, or I do need to take more breaks and stop straining my eyes. So yeah. How about a list of referrals for different kinds of home repairs? I like that idea too. You know your audience and you know what they need. So, making sure it's authentic to you. So for some of you, sending pictures of the new grandkid, awesome ideas. For others, you're like, I don't want people knowing that kind of information about me. And that's just fine. What's helpful in this time and what is authentic to you and your business and your community that you're trying to cultivate? So who are the referrals that would make sense to make sure people know about right now, right? I am a big pop culture nerd. So in my March newsletter, I had written a whole newsletter about, 3 things you should continue to do right now. It was basically this presentation. But then I really thought about it, and a lot of people were getting those emails. I'm also a huge pop culture nerd. And so every month I write a pop culture blog with my favorite books, TV shows, and podcasts that I'm listening to. And so instead I did a top 10 list of pop culture that was keeping me sane and that was helping. So I was like, here's some stuff that's keeping me sane right now that I hope might help keep you sane right now as well. It's okay to kind of pivot in these times and say, here's some recommendations. Here's some things that are helping me. And here's some things that I'm noticing. How are we doing? Any other questions? COVID discounts, yep. Yeah, COVID discounts, let's see, COVID discounts, since the whole downturn has a huge domino effect. I've seen a lot of have some success with COVID discounts, other, stay safe, let's do this online. Again, it really depends on you and your business what works. If business is completely dried up and you're trying to get something in the door, then you may want to look at some sort of discount. If financially it just doesn't make sense, that's okay too. Like, you have to figure out what's going to be the right fit for you. And so you can do that. I actually have something coming out in my newsletter today. That's a COVID, a stay home, stay safe discount, just to help people out. And it's really if you need a little extra help and some talk, like, here's a half price discount on something. So yeah, you can absolutely do that. All right. Other questions, or should we move on and start talking about social media? Okay, from all that feedback I'm not getting from people. So the second thing I want to talk about is also free, is social media. And this is a great time to make sure that you're connecting with your network still. What I want to say about social media, I have a lot of things to say about social media. First, and most importantly, that you should know about me, is that I am not on Facebook. I am the marketing consultant who refuses to join Facebook. I just don't care that much about what's going on in your everyday life. I will, however, over Instagram my own life. So you have to find the social media that's the right fit for you and the right fit for your audience. This is the time to do the social media. Social media takes a ton of time and Facebook gets super snarky. I absolutely agree. You don't have to do everything, and don't join everything all of a sudden, but wherever you already have an audience and a community, make sure that you're spending some time there. I would say you, as the owner of your business, need to be in charge of this right now, making sure that you're engaging and talking to your audience, keeping them up to date. So what hours have changed? In fact, I need to go something off at a brewery this week. It's the thing. Anyway, I have to go drop something off at a brewery, but I was looking online at their hours, and they have updated their hours in like a month. And I messaged them. So I tweeted back at them and I'm like, hey, are these hours still correct? Because I need to come over and pick up some beer and drop off something for the owner's wife. And so, just wanted to make sure that those hours are still updated. And so making sure that on a regular basis, you're confirming we're open. This is what we're offering right now. This is what we have available. But you don't need to join Twitter and start tweeting all the time. Use the social media that you already have, and just making sure that you're connecting with the audience that you already have. My typical recommendation on social media is to check in daily, and you only need to spend about 5 minutes is what I would usually say. And this is to log in, see what's going on. You might want to share a couple of things that are happening. Maybe it's other businesses in your community that you want to support, or that are similar to your own business that you want to share what they're up to, updating any hours, updating any specials or promotions you have, and make sure you're also responding. So pay attention to who's commented, and make sure you're responding. And so typically I would say 5 minutes a day. I would say right now, if you could jump on like the beginning of the beginning of your day and the end of your day, just to answer questions, I think that would be helpful. A couple of businesses that I've seen on social media that I think are doing a great job right now locally are Darcy at White Birch. I don't know if you follow her on Instagram, but she's done a great job of like shopping you through her store, and offering, delivery, and specific specials and like goodie packages. I have accidentally bought a couple of them because I am susceptible to cute things. And who doesn't need a new sweatshirt that says Slay than Rosé? I absolutely needed that for my COVID. Yeah, thanks, Tom. I didn't wear it today, so I'm feeling pretty good about myself. But what is it in your business that you can be sharing on social media, making sure that you're engaging and talking to people? And if there's ways that people can kind of see what's going on and how they can interact with you and still support you right now. Another business that's doing a great job is the Orenco Tap House. See, pointing up towards Orenco, where they're sharing beer specials that they have, making sure their tap list is updated, and continually updating us on their hours of like, we are open these days from these hours for your to-go needs. And don't forget, price list is here. Here's what we have on tap right now. We just got these cans in, or these specialty bottles in, and they'll post when they're out of those things as well, which is kind of nice. So respond, share your updates, engage as much as you can talk, and support your community. So if you don't have a lot to say, that's okay. This goes back to that being a resource that we talked about earlier. Being a resource, so it's sharing what else is going on in the community, what other people are doing as well. I was talking about my client who in their newsletter talks about restaurants they're going to, and Hillsboro Fire and Rescue has been, somebody gave them a grant to pay for lunches so that they can go and support local restaurants. And so they're posting a picture of the fire engine in front of restaurants around town with, this is where we got lunch today. Dang 9 has takeout available, and supporting those businesses so that people in the community know, oh, great, they're still open. That sounds like a great plan for dinner tonight. Eldon is absolutely right. 5 minutes a day, it's like Lay's potato chips, but you can't eat just one. It's good to see you, Eldon. Eldon and I are in Leadership Hillsboro together, and I think Travis is on the call too, so, which has wrapped up for the year, thanks to COVID. So, so as far as social media goes, it's really about using what you have. It is free. One other thing with that is don't forget about Google My Business. If you haven't set up a business page on Google, you should do that. Business.google.com will get you all squared away there, making sure your hours are updated there. And making sure that you have everything up to date there. You can also do posts and updates on there. They don't prompt you like other ones do as well. With Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, you can schedule through other scheduling tools, your social, you can schedule posts, and Google doesn't let you do that, which is a real pain in my butt. So you have to manually go in and do it, but it is worthwhile because it's Google and they own the internet along with Facebook. So what questions do we have about social media? Okay. This is a great way to just be checking in with folks, right? And sharing what you can, supporting and encouraging in any way possible.
Elizabeth, I would just chime in that we, because we do daily emails and social media, but our newsletter unsubscribes, now that we've moved to daily, has dropped dramatically. And I think it's about content. It's about, if it's something that's useful, if they want to read, whether it's social media or a newsletter, they're going to stick with you. And so really about, finding that niche of where you have information that can be useful to your customers, and they'll stay with you.
That's awesome. Jen and I have not talked about the opt-out rates, so that's so great to hear. Brad privately messaged me and asked, how do you handle negative comments on social media? And that's a great question. Thank you, Brad. It really depends. A lot of times when that happens with my clients, they get a bad review online. It often is about bad reviews, right? As opposed to a negative comment. And it's, in that case, it's having consistent a review system in place so that you have enough good reviews so that when the bad one comes in, it's flooded out. Handling negative comments, you can do a couple of ways. You can read the comment, read the tone, read the, who the person is, can say a lot about that. And so you may decide it's not worth responding to. You may decide it is worth responding to. You definitely shouldn't respond immediately. Just take a beat. It's the kind of thing you might want to, oftentimes I'll say, like, step back, maybe talk to somebody else about it. So, hey, how am I supposed to respond to this? Because what I want to tell them to do is a lot of really inappropriate things that probably aren't going to be great for my business in the long run. That's really how I feel right now. So I will occasionally text what I want to say to a friend and be like, okay, thanks, I got that out of my system. And then I can politely and professionally respond with, I'm sorry to hear that. But yeah, responding to negative comments is hard. Blogging, yeah, if you are currently blogging and you have the energy for that and you want to keep doing that, you should keep blogging right now and make sure that you're sharing your blog posts on social media. This is also a great time. You may have a blog post from 2 years ago that is actually really relevant right now. I've been going through some of my old blog posts. I've been blogging for all 9 years of my business and seeing that some of these blog posts really do make a lot more sense right now. So that's good. And then Olga said, Social Bee lets me schedule posts on Google My Business. That is great to know. Thank you. It's important to respond to negative comments, but make sure that it's not hurting you further, and that you're able to handle it in a way that you're still professional. And it's just always going to be a hard thing to do. But by being consistent across the board and having, regular great content and support coming in, hopefully those are tempered. And if it is, I think especially right now, negative comments are more about them than you. Your doors are closed. I wanted a massage, but the governor says you can't, but I still want it, so screw you. Like, come on, I think it's going to say a lot more about them. That's what I usually find with comments. So, yeah.
Elizabeth, I'll just note that there was a suggestion on how to sell cleaning gift cards.
Oh, wait a minute. How to sell cleaning gift cards.
Right. I would just suggest Mother's Day.
Yeah. Honestly, yes. Yeah. Gift cards are great. So I would say you can share those on, promote those on social media and promote those in a newsletter. And absolutely, Mother's Day is coming up. Is it something that you can give to a friend who's somewhere a ways away? Here's what I need right now. What is it that you need? Here's a cleaning gift certificate. You can use it now, you can use it later. And without, I guess that's a question too, is are you cleaning still, or is this for something in the future? Oh, I'm looking at the comments here. So Tom just asked, can you share examples of how businesses have not come across so well since the shutdown? Cautionary tales. Yes. What I'm really seeing, it was funny, I was talking to a client a couple of weeks ago about getting their newsletter out. And I said, here's some recommendations I think would be helpful to your audience right now. And he responded and was like, ooh, I like those ideas. He was like, if one more CEO tells me how worried he is about me right now, I'm gonna lose it. Like, I don't need to care about me, I need you to help me. So what is it that you're offering? And so the desperation is pretty apparent out there, the vultures, and that's kind of what we're going to get into with this my third piece here about checking in with people, is being your authentic self. But you can see and smell the desperation from people. And so I think being aware of that means it's not going to happen for you. And if you need a gut check, do you have somebody else on your team or a referral partner or kind of another similar business that you talk to about these kinds of things that you can run that past them? And if you don't, you can email me and I will tell you, because giving my totally biased opinion on things is my favorite activity, as some people on this call can attest to. Other questions about social media? We move on. All right. Engage. It's hard when it's negative, but focus on how you can be a resource in this community right now and sharing and supporting others. The final thing I want to talk about maintaining customer loyalty is checking in. Typically, besides talking about email newsletters, talking about follow-up is my favorite thing. This is different than follow-up though. This isn't about checking, this isn't about following up with that potential client to ask them why they haven't hired you yet, because everything just blew up. This is about checking in. So yesterday, for example, I sent an email to every client I've worked with in the past year and said, so everything just changed and we might have built a marketing plan or had a system in place for you, for your business, that is obsolete now. So I offered to do 30-minute Zoom calls. We'll record it so they can keep it and just figure out, like, how do they need to pivot? What's working, what's not working, what's, again, authentic to them. So yes, this is about using the phone to ask how they're doing. It's picking up the phone, giving them a call, it's shooting them an email, whatever's the right fit for you, but checking in with people. And so my recommendation would be that you check in with your current clients, make sure they're okay, right? Is there anything you can do? And this is kind of a wellness check call, right? It can be personal and professional. I don't know about you guys, but I'm noticing a lot of my calls with clients and with anybody I'm talking to kind of starts with a couple minutes of personal. how's your family doing? Do you have extended family? Is everybody healthy? How are you guys handling that, everybody working at home now? But there's a lot more of that personal nature to it, your health and wellness. So checking in with your current clients and customers, checking in with past clients and customers, like I was mentioning, I shot that note out yesterday. Reaching out to prospects that haven't closed is okay right now. And it's acknowledging that, hey, I know before the shutdown, we talked about this. I just wanted to check in with you to see how you're doing, what's going on, and if there's anything I can do to help you right now. And they may say, this isn't going to happen for 6 months, or we just laid off all of our stuff, and so, and had to shut the doors for 3 months. And they may say, this is exactly what I need right now. Or pivot this and this. Can you help me with this instead? But just getting your name in their inbox and checking in with them. You should also be checking in with referral partners. Are there other people in your network that you should be talking with on a regular basis? People that often refer business to you, or you refer business to them, that you want to just check in and see, how are they doing? How are they affected by this? How might you be able to help? Because you may have a client that still needs what they're doing, and they may still have a client that needs what you're doing. And how are you pivoting? Figure out how they're pivoting in their business and how you're pivoting in your business to work with them. And then the other thing is to keep networking, right? Like, it's always a hard thing when you're running your business to be networking and finding that time. But find those networking opportunities that are still available. The chamber, these are great, right? That you can get here and see other business owners that are alive and kicking. Wake Up Hillsboro every Friday morning is now on Zoom, and you can connect with people there as well. Scheduling your own group happy hour and checking in with friends and colleagues to see how they're doing and what's going on. But find those ways, and you can be the one to kickstart that. Maybe it's just finding 5 of your colleagues, couple of referral partners or people in your network that all know each other, and it's just time to catch up and see how everybody's doing. Grab a cup of coffee and get on Zoom. Pants optional, as long as you keep it from the chest up. So, but checking in with people is really important right now. So I know there's a lot of other things we can be talking about when it comes to maintaining customer loyalty, but as far as 3 free things that I really think are helpful right now, sending out an email, newsletter, regularly communicating with your network, making sure you're active on social media, and then those personal one-on-one check-ins with clients and colleagues, I think, are really important things to be working on. So what questions do you have about checking in, follow up, or anything else I'm talking about here?
Okay, so I was sitting here thinking, I've heard these things, like I sort of logically know that I should do these things, and I am doing some of them, but like, I think part of it is the whole motivating yourself to actually do some of these things right now when you feel like you don't really want to. And that for me, I think for me, that means making a list of who I'm going to check in with today, yeah, or whatever. But do you have recommendations for how to sort of turn it into a process that you just do rather than something you sort of agonize about?
Yeah. I am a huge fan of to-do lists. And so for me, it's, what can I do today? So today is the day, by the end of this week, I am going to send an email out to all of my clients from the past year to check in with them. And I'm just going to do one email that's a BCC, or I'm going to send it through my newsletter program, and just send that out. And then whoever responds. Like I said, I sent that out yesterday, and a client of mine was like, oh, hey, I need you to send a newsletter for me next week. And I had no intention of getting any business out of that email. I really do just want to provide a service. And so it was just kind of like, oh, okay, great. So some businesses are still alive and kicking and hiring and working. And so I would say, find what's authentic for you. So maybe sending a newsletter out with just some updates is more authentic to you. Maybe sending out 2 or 3 individual emails to people is more authentic to you. And as far as motivation goes, again, it goes back to figuring out what's the right fit for you, and then maybe it's just setting a goal of I'm going to send 2 emails this week. So right now I have a note right here. It's like 2 one-on-ones a week. That's my goal right now is, 2 specific, who am I going to talk to next? Who am I having Zoom happy hours with next week or Zoom coffee dates with next week? I want to make sure I have 2 of those on the books every week. So that's all I have to do this week is figure out who are the 2 appointments I'm going to have next week and get those emailed. And sometimes I often have a list of some people that I'm like, I need to talk to them or I should check in with them. And sometimes it's more reactionary. Somebody's email pops up in my inbox and I'm like, that's who I need to be talking to right now. Does that help? Maybe. And an accountability partner helps too. So is there somebody else out there, else in your network who you guys can help, check in and hold each other accountable? Yeah. Yep. As Tom was saying, yep. Thanks for sharing that. Kimberly said, we have close to 600 owner members at the co-op. We have an annual meeting to elect board members. Is there any way to use that to bring more community to the process? Yeah. Annual meeting. Okay. So Kimberly, will the annual meeting be online now? Are you doing a Zoom?
We're working on it. That's the problem. We have some leadership that doesn't think that spending money on Zoom Pro is a good idea. So, but we have a lot of people, most of whom are sitting in their homes and they can't get out on a Saturday like they would normally. Mm-hmm. And so that's when our meeting is, I think, in May now.
Okay. Yeah, I would say for the co-op, this is a great time for that, right? To be supporting and encouraging that as people are not wanting to leave their house as much and be more intentional about where they're going and what they're doing. And so I think encouraging your current members, and that goes back to the social media piece of it, encourage your current members to be promoting it on their social media. Hey, here's something really awesome right now. Something else I'm noticing is we're all so overwhelmed that making a decision isn't happening. So just tell us, here's one thing you can do this week to support the co-op. You can, we have a couple of posts that are going out on Facebook, and if you want to share those with your network, that would be great. What is the one thing people can do this week? I am finding that with my clients. I'm sending them emails saying, in your next newsletter, we're going to talk about this, this, and this. Or, hey, we usually talk about these kinds of things, but we probably should pivot and talk about this month. And so, kind of just telling them and giving them a couple very concrete options instead of, please help support us, is more helpful right now, I think, for all of us.
Elizabeth?
Yes.
I have experience running meetings on platforms for, I don't know, about the last 7 or 8 years. And so I can probably help somebody who is needing to run a meeting like that. So let me know. I mean, I'm the administrator of the ATA Interpreters Division. We've got about 3,800 members in that group. And so I've been trying to engage a much larger group of members than that. And of course, we haven't reached all of them, but they do feel included and like they've been able to participate in things for the last year and a half that I've been the administrator. Yeah. So some of the strategies that I've been able to implement might be helpful to others this time. Right. So maybe we could talk with a person who's running that board meeting. Yes, Kimberly, why don't you can private message her in the chat over there and share your information, and you guys can connect offline. And then you've got one-on-one scheduled for the week. Check that out. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, it's a thought here. Definitely. We'll let you two connect, and you can chat from there if that works.
Yeah. Thinking also that the chamber, due to this pandemic, we've purchased the pro version, and much like we allow our members to utilize some of our meeting rooms, we could certainly allow the chamber, allow our members to use our license for Zoom. We just have to start the meeting for you, but we could certainly, I know it's an expense, but that's a way that we certainly could share with our members. The limitation on our license is 100 participants at a time. That maxes out at 100, unless you go to a webinar version, which then you can have much larger, but there's much more restriction in terms of communication. But certainly if you send us a note and you ask if we could schedule a meeting for you to do a Zoom meeting, we could start it for you, turn you over as host, let you use that license to do that.
That's awesome.
But
That is
Deanna,
so generous. Thank you.
can I say something? But Deanna, the advantage of you starting it is you know how to keep it from being Zoom bombed.
Right. We would start it, right, and then with
And
the
you know how to keep it safe,
right.
which not everybody does.
Right. That, I'm not going to say that we won't be, because, that would be at the moment that someone does. But I would say I've read up on it, and I understand the restrictions we can place on folks coming into the meeting, passwords, waiting room, those kinds of things that can assist with that as well. But yeah, Kimberly, just let me know when you want us to set it up, and I'll turn you, and we can then start it, and then I'll turn you over to be the host, and I'll back out of it. But that just lets you not have to do something, to purchase something that you might just use once or twice. Obviously, the chamber's using ours on a regular basis, so we're happy to share that with you.
Thank you.
Chamber's
That's
awesome.
so kind. I appreciate it.
Love it. Love it. Yay. What other questions do we have? We got about 10, 15 minutes left here. What other questions? What didn't I talk about today that you were hoping I would talk about? What did I skim right over that you were hoping I would spend more time talking about?
Elizabeth, I'll just chime in again. In terms of, oftentimes your customers may not know your sphere of influence. And so asking them sort of what is their challenge, and then saying, I have a sphere of influence that I want to share with you. So if you have a challenge, let me check with my network and see, it may not be something that you would think that I could help you solve, and I probably can't, but I probably know someone that can. So, just really having an opportunity to dialogue around what their challenges are. And it could be with, if you happen to be a B2B where you have small businesses as your customers, it could be, we're really struggling with trying to figure out how to access the SBA, right? And so you could then say, okay, who do I know in my sphere of influence that could help that customer? And that they're going to remember that, and that's going to keep them loyal to you for a very long time.
It is the success of my business is when I talk about follow-up, I talk about how I have always followed up with every ridiculous request that I've gotten. Can you introduce me to this person? Where did you get that bag? Where do you buy, where did you do this? I saw that you were talking to this person at that event. Would you mind introducing me to them? No matter how ridiculous and unrelated to my business a follow-up is, the amount of people that thank me for following up with them and sending them the information that I said I would send them, or connecting them to the person that I said I would send them to, is the reason I am successful and have had the company for 9 years. Yeah, so definitely all the things you're doing right now will pay dividends in the long run. So when you're doing those check-in calls, what is it that you need? And it may be a ride, or just, I'm going to Costco and let me pick up something for you. Tom wants to know where I got my Mandalorian helmet, and I appreciate that Tom noticed my Mandalorian helmet. I got it as a Christmas present from my husband. I am a huge pop culture nerd, as you can tell from Wonder Woman and all my Star Wars things here. So yes, my husband occasionally is very supportive of my nerdy habits. So it doesn't matter what it is, I will always make sure you know where I got things from. And yes, keeping a spreadsheet of your follow-up contacts, having a CRM, a customer relationship manager, a database is awesome to do. And then you can be tracking that. So that's what I always do when I follow up with folks, is I send an email I send them an email and I add that information into my CRM, and then I make myself a note to check in with them, like usually like a week later, if I haven't heard back from them. Yeah. Other questions? I know this is a lot, and I know this is overwhelming. I would also say, pick one thing. So maybe it's just getting your business cards out of that bowl and into a spreadsheet this week. Maybe it's getting a newsletter out that just updates people on what's going on. Maybe it's figuring out the login information for Instagram and starting that up again. Whatever it might be. Maybe it's connecting with 2 clients just to check in and see how they're doing. Absolutely. Other questions? Anything else we're forgetting? Okay. I will also say, if it's helpful, on my website, yellowdogconsulting.com, I have a couple of free tools, including a newsletter setup checklist. So if you haven't built a newsletter before and you need just kind of some help on walking through doing that, it kind of walks you through how to do that for MailChimp, which is the one that I recommend because it's free for up to 2,000 email addresses. So if you haven't set up a newsletter program before and you need some help with that, you can check that out on my website. It's just a helpful tool. It's designed for people who don't really want to hire me or work with me, want a DIY option. So, other questions?
Elizabeth, you want to add your just that yellowdogconsulting.com and your email address in the chat so folks have access to that? That would be great. And thank you for the free tools. Thank you very much for your expertise today. Definitely, it helps to have someone sort of walk through, even if it's things that you already know, but there's so much flying around these days. And so it's kind of stressful, obviously. And oftentimes when stress, when you're in stressful situations, the basic things and tenets you understand about your business kind of get lost or get forgotten. And so thank you very much for reminding us how important it is to stay close to our customers. They want us to be healthy, and they want us to be strong, and they want us to be there when we're all done with all this. And they know that they can play a part in that, and it's our job to help them, show them how they can do that.
Absolutely.
So thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for all of you. If there's any questions, you're going to think of 5 things as soon as we all hang up. So don't hesitate to shoot me an email, Elizabeth at Yellow Dog Consulting. Be happy to jump on Zoom and chat with you one-on-one if that would be helpful for you. So thank you all. Thank you, Deanna.
You bet. So just in case you have time this afternoon at 2 o'clock, we do have another program, one of our small business solution series workshops that we're doing at 2 o'clock. It's focused on the restaurant, brew pub, beverage industry. However, any small business will benefit from hearing from Sam Holloway. He's a professor at the University of Portland and has done a lot of research around how small businesses can remain successful. So be sure to register, go to the Chamber's website, register for the conversation this afternoon at 2 o'clock. And then we're back here again tomorrow at 10 o'clock. And we're going to be hearing from an expert CFO. So a certified financial officer talking about things you should be thinking about moving forward financially for your small business. So if you haven't registered for that one, do it at the same time you're registering for this afternoon. And thank you all very much for participating and joining us here today. Hope you have a great, happy, healthy, safe rest of your week. Thank you.